Hey guys, and welcome back to the Franchise Tag Podcast, Season 3, Episode 5. We never update that, so I always
Nope.
gotta improv it. We are on every podcast platform, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us. If you would like the links to those will be in the video description. And if you would like the links to join us in Pick'ems and compete against us, you have a very good chance of doing better than us because we suck this year. That link
hmm
will also be in the description. This week, we've got a typical show for you. Some discussion about last week's occurrences, a segment on Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots fan in the building, and then we've got some week 6 games to highlight, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yeah. Nice, short and sweet podcast coming forward, I think. But starting off with Thursday Night Football, we had the 49ers going against the Rams. And, good thing I brought up Brock Purdy's little re-aggravation last week because it did ring true. We had Mac Jones start for the 49ers in this game again. And, man, you know, I know we always say about, Kyle Shanahan, that system, it's quarterback friendly. Same with, Vikings and everything of that tree. But man, Mac Jones is just having a great year. I'm very, very happy for him after, he had fun his rookie year and then everything kind of fell apart there. Now, I don't think you'd say, oh, yeah, I wish we had Mac instead of Drake.
You're
But,
silly.
you're not going to double back on that. But I do think, it's kind of ringing true to me now. Like, maybe it was not Mac Jones and it was just overall the team kind of Patriots, losing him, fumbling away the early part of his rookie contract there. We'll see where Mac Jones goes from here, but the great game from him, honestly, I nothing
Yeah.
really to complain about from him.
I mean, I wouldn't say I think it's the Patriots that failed him truly. I mean, obviously, giving him Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator, there have been better decisions in the history of the world,
hmm
and there have not been many worse ones. However, uh, I do think that he was built in a lab to play for Kyle Shanahan, and that's why Shanahan wanted him so bad. And then he was pressured into picking Trey Lance because that isn't obviously it's all speculation, but that's the most heavily rumored thing is that in the 2021 draft class he wanted Mac Jones really bad, then was pressured into taking Trey Lance because picking basically a game manager that early is frowned upon or whatever. But it always seemed to me like Mac was super reliant on system. And if we were going to have a good system like we did his rookie year with Josh McDaniels, and we would have decent pieces around him and a good defense, that he would ball out. He'd do very well. And he was a Pro Bowler his rookie year and, cupcake Pro Bowl. But, besides the point, he
Yeah.
was actually good his rookie year. I say Pro Bowl as kind of a joke, but he
hmm
was good his rookie year. And then he was not able to elevate. And the Shanahan system is not one where quarterbacks need to elevate as much. And the basically every other system is one where the quarterbacks need to elevate. So I do think there is some merit to him actually being good in the Shanahan system. I think if he went to the Vikings, it'd be a similar story. But I don't think he would be as successful in a situation where he is Geno Smith going somewhere, revitalizing his career, and then being okay, or Sam Darnold with what he's doing in Seattle now. I don't think he could go to one of those troubled situations and do well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I will say the argument is helped a bit by, the whole Matt Patricia because, Kendrick Bourne is also here reaping the benefits of a good system with Mac Jones. Um, But yeah, I think as we stated, it's a system that doesn't rely on quarterback play to be the the current franchise quarterback meta, I guess, where we're not uh, you know, we actually don't want to see Trey Lance run this offense.
Yeah,
We will actively choose to not have that happen because it makes it look a lot worse.
yeah,
But overall, it was a good game. It was a tight matchup. It really felt like the Rams just kind of shot themselves in the foot. It was a great game from really all levels. Like quarterback play across the board was great. I liked seeing Stafford and Jones duel. It felt like Jones was making all the right throws with, knowing when to check down, not forcing anything. And yeah, it was just a really like entertaining game. They just happened to, fall short right at the end there with that Kyron run on 4th and 1. But getting into our next game on the lineup, we're entering Sunday, and we had quite the duel between two quarterbacks. And it's funny to think that they were both little Panthers like bridge quarterbacks at one point in time. But Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield absolutely dealed all day for that game. And it looks on the stat sheet like, oh, Darnold did pretty, significantly better. Like, but then he has the interception that loses the game. Just in terms of passing touchdowns and looking better. But really just a great tight game. And it's like, it really rings true with, what I was saying last week about him, and this is in reference to Baker Mayfield, but him being able to be that dark horse MVP candidate, because in a tight game where you need to be nearly flawless, like he had 4 incompletions, and you're needing to be extremely flawless in your game, and then you go ahead, you do that, and even against a quarterback that is being equally flawless, that quarterback makes the first mistake. So you played a fantastic game through and through, and after that interception from Seattle, when the game's tied up and it kind of, it's not exactly the story we've seen from Baker Mayfield with these late game wins. He kind of had it just given to him with that interception, so they just had to, waste the clock down and kick that field goal. But like this is the Bucs team that, with Baker Mayfield at the helm, just will kind of refuse to die on you. Like they will stay tight in these games. They will hang around more than you would expect them to. At one point during this game, there was like a sub 10% win probability for the Buccaneers, and then Seattle goes ahead and they make the first mistake, and they come away with that win. And that feels like it's always the case when Baker Mayfield gets the ball late in the game. It's like they can have a low, win percentage, as however that stat is calculated in real time, but it doesn't really matter because he's the one with the ball in his hands, ready to control the game.
Yeah, he's absolutely been killing it this season. I mean, you were saying dark horse MVP. I don't think it's that dark of a horse anymore. I'm pretty sure it's a bright white stallion.
Yep, he went right through the horse wash. I don't know.
Horse wash.
But they sprayed him with some, Dove soap, and they just slapped him with a bunch of foam rollers, and boom, white stallion coming running out of the other end of that. Really is just like,
I mean, is he the front
he continues
runner?
to produce.
Can we say he's the front runner right now, or is it still Josh Allen? Even
I think
after
it's got to be Allen.
Patriots?
But I definitely feel like if you were to be watching like the odds track, like there's got to be at least a major swing in terms of Baker Mayfield after playing a game that, close to perfection.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's a Devin Lloyd MVP type season. Maybe that's why he's not on the decoy list, because they're giving him the MVP.
He's so close. He's truly is going to. Well, we'll get to that on the Monday night recap there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'll quick touch on the Lions game, unless you have another game you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, real quick before you do that, the Jets, man, the Jets and Cowboys game. I mean, it's just so tough because like watching them, it's not even immediately apparent what's wrong. It feels like they're just they're just not good enough, like barely. Like they seem to be driving down the field. They seem to be making good plays, and then it never leads to points. Somehow it's like I'm watching this and I'm like, I cannot immediately tell which team is better between the Jets and the Cowboys, and one of them is winning by 25 or however much the Cowboys won by. Like it's just so weird to watch them. And as a I guess they
field leaver.
Yeah, as a Fields leaver, it's tough to watch them. I guess the Jets put up some points at the end to make it more competitive. It was 22-37, but while watching, it just wasn't immediately like oh, the Cowboys are way better this time around. They'll win for sure, even though the score was that. It was so weird to watch, and I'm curious to see what that leads to for the Jets. What change needs to be made, because I can't tell if they're a quarterback away and it's a Justin Fields problem, or if they need upgrades literally everywhere, but just small upgrades everywhere. Like I can't tell if it needs to be a full rebuild where they're like, all right, our O line is just not good enough, and it's because everybody on the O line is just mediocre. So we need that one cornerstone to kind of elevate everybody else, and we need a quarterback who can elevate the offensive line a little bit. And they definitely need a better wide receiver too, because Josh Reynolds is not it at wide receiver two. He's fine. Nothing wrong with him, but not a good wide receiver two. And then on defense, is it, Sauce Gardner is just not good enough to carry the DB unit. Do they need to add some more help there? Like everything has little question marks around them, and I'm just not sure where they go from here.
Yeah, there's during the game, during the broadcast, they're talking about, this is the worst offense in reference to the Jets for third down. And this is the worst defense for the Cowboys defense against defending third downs. And early on, it looked like, the Jets were converting these third downs throughout the game. But then you get to the flip side where, like, both of these defenses, at the bare minimum, kind of suck. Like, it's not Miami Dolphins level of suck, but they're not very good. And so when you are able to, granted, they did, really close the gap late in the game because they have to. So it's like, how much of this is really even worthwhile points to account for in terms of they scored 22, they lost by 15, but it was a 16-point fourth quarter. Like, as a whole, they aren't really stopping the other team. So when every single game for the Jets is having to come to like being a shootout, like we saw week 1, it's not really going to lean in favor of your offense because your defense isn't going to make a stop, and your offense can't score every time because it's not that seamless of an offense. And so, as much as I would like to see a problem be diagnosed, it's really hard to. Like, I feel like Fields is playing a pretty good game. He's being fairly accurate. He's not doing all of these big, outrageous mistakes that he usually does when it comes to, like, fumbling and spending 16 seconds behind the line of scrimmage. He's kind of dealing, and he's doing a good for his own personal, like, landmarks for where he has been in the past. He's just not elevating it as much as you would like to see him. And then you add to that the fact that the defense can't stop a sneeze, then it's like, what are we doing here? And it would be nice to see like a problem diagnosed, because it doesn't feel like it's the offensive line. It doesn't feel like it's Justin Fields, and it just doesn't feel like it's really any of the playmakers. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, like, it feels like they have everything together, and that to me would lean towards like the coaching being the problem.
I got it. I know what it is.
Uh-oh.
It's the Jets.
Oh my gosh. It goes to the very top. You're not wrong. I mean,
Yeah. It's
hard
the
to
Jets.
argue against that.
It's the Jets. It's the same reason we can never figure out why the Bills can't win in the playoffs. It's the Bills.
Bills.
That's just them. But anyways,
It's unfortunately the way the world spins.
yeah.
But we'll get
shift
into
off.
the quick recap of the Lions game, because there's a couple of things coming out of this game that are worrying to me as a Lions fan moving forward. Now, things that aren't worrying to me is David Montgomery's pass efficiency. Seems like he's a pretty good quarterback. We might have to see more of him out there, get some more wildcat going. I definitely. They tried real hard to make it a special day for David Montgomery. All the play calling, you see him out there. It's a homecoming for him. The broadcast talked about it. He's playing in front of a lot of like his family that he's never been able to play in front of, and they gave him the opportunities too, for sure. And so by going ahead and really like leaning into him as being the lead running back, I can't knock it. I liked it. Now, at the start of the game, it definitely seemed like the Bengals were not keen on letting him do much of anything at all. 3-yard gain, 2-yard gain, etc., etc. But as a whole, the Lions, the offense still looks good. I mean, you're putting up hella points every week. Now, I would have liked to see more because it was Cincinnati Bengals defense. When your defense is one guy's name said over and over and over again, unfortunately, we did have a backup left tackle out there, so Trey Hendrickson was able to run rampant a little more than usual. But overall, great day of offense for the Lions. My worry comes with moving forward on the defense because we already have DJ Reed on IR, and Terry and Arnold is going to be out for a long time. And so that's our top two corners already gone.
Terry and Arnold, was that injury or was that just because he's not good?
That's injury. He hurt his shoulder and he was like walking into the locker room. I wouldn't say, I feel like Terry and Arnold gets overhated because he does draw penalties, but it's like the same level of Sauce Gardner. Like they haven't gotten rid of this penalty riddled aspect of their game, but their physical corners, there's of course with that physicality comes getting some calls, but outside of whenever there's like penalty yardage, because of a target to Terry and Arnold, he really locks down a majority of corners. And so then we see him exit the game, and now we have two backup DBs in, and Jamar Chase starts, kind of going off because it's late in the game. They got to make a big comeback. And then they start kind of mounting that big comeback off of the back of, okay, we're missing our top two DBs. Our outside corners are gone, so we're having these other guys slot in. So going forward with those two, out for the foreseen future, I worry about the defense, but the offense should have the steam to continue to mount these wins, unlike how I just kind of mentioned with the Jets, where the defense is doing them no favors and the offense is not good enough to make up for that lack of favors. It's going to be another few games where I think the Lions are going to look fine. The defense very well might get exposed next week in that game against the Chiefs, but we'll get into that when we look forward to next week. Now we get into the fun part of the video.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just looked it up. Terry and Arnold's injury is likely season ending. Not confirmed, but very likely as of an hour ago. So, but yes, very fun part of Sunday Night Football. Drake May, the Patriots. We beat the Bills. It's our Super Bowl, baby. I'm on Patriots Twitter a lot, and so I see a lot of Bills Twitter this week, obviously, because we are playing the Bills, and it's a division rivalry, and there's a lot of people that are like, man, why are they hyping themselves up so much? It's the Patriots and it's the Bills. Like, do they expect to win this one? And then after we do win it, it's everybody being like, well, every week 5 we have those rough games, and they post like a bunch of random week 5s where they've lost to teams they absolutely should not lose to. And I went in the comments of one of them, and I was like, dude, let us have this one and y'all can have the 1 seed. Like, don't pretend that this loss is that detrimental to you. Like, I know it stings because losing to the Patriots yet again after the history with Brady and you've had to live through a lot of Patriots dominating Bills, but like, you're the 1 seed in the AFC. It's uncontested. There's nobody that's coming for that 1 seed except for you. Just take it and run, and don't get yourselves caught up on a game against a borderline wild card team in October. Like, it's not that serious. And on the flip side, Patriots Twitter, we be glazing Drake May. There's a reason for that. But also, the refs did the Bills no favors that game. I don't know if you saw any of the calls and missed calls, but I wouldn't say that I would blame the refs, but they definitely did not help much.
I didn't actually see many things from the refereeing in that game that I was like, oh, that seems egregious. I was in and out of watching that one up until like the second half. So if it was primarily a first half thing, then yeah, I definitely missed it. But
it was second half.
Throughout the second half, I didn't like look that closely. I saw a penalty. I was like, that's coming back. And then I went back to doing homework because I had it one
Yeah.
monitor, other monitor.
The there wasn't anything that was like egregiously bad. It was just like super ticky tack stuff that you wouldn't expect to see called, and it all seemed to go in the Patriots' favor. I mean, there were a couple plays. I mean, there was a hit to Josh Allen that was flagged for unnecessary roughness or for roughing the quarterback, roughing the passer. Sorry, and it was to the head or neck area, I guess, but it looked like a standard tackle, and it wasn't like he drove Allen into the ground or anything. It just like it was one of those things where it's like, okay, they're protecting quarterbacks a little too much now. But that's not something that's outrageous to see. So I wasn't super mad at that one. That was against the Patriots. And then there was one where the very next play after that, Joshua Farmer, I think his name is. He's a rookie D tackle. He came in and hit James Cook, but it's because James Cook looked to pitch the ball as he was going down and like didn't go down. Like he let his knee hit the ground, but he was still looking at Josh Allen, looking like he was still up. So like while it's dumb that like you like don't hit him, but like if he's acting like a player who's still up, make sure he's down, because the worst thing that could happen is Farmer gives up on that play. Cook is not actually down. And then he flips it to Josh Allen and Josh takes it like 20 yards. Like that is the absolute worst thing that could have happened there. So it's just like, again, it's not James Cook's fault. It's not the ref's fault. They called the play right. It's just an unfortunate situation. And then the really bad one was on that final drive, the final play where Josh Allen threw it over the middle and Christian Gonzalez got there early and they didn't call pass interference or anything, but he got there. I mean, I saw it live and I was like, ooh, he got there a little early. And I was like tense waiting for the flag. And then they didn't throw it. And I was like, ooh, I was like, Twitter's going to have a field day with that one. But luckily I'm on the Patriots side, so it probably won't be that bad. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like like I said, it wasn't anything like super egregious. Bills fans, I'm sure you feel differently about it. It was just a continuous game that was called poorly. And it was the Sean Hockley crew.
At least it was consistently ticky-tack instead of like, we're going to call the ticky-tack stuff with 3 minutes left in the game, and that's the way we're calling it.
And it was Sean Hockley's crew, and he's got a history of not being a big Bills guy. The last time the Bills had that many penalties was like, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was against the Eagles with the Sean Hockley crew. So it was, again, like same refs, same problems. So I'm not saying that's on the Bills. I'm not saying it's the Bills' fault. I think refs should all be calling games equally no matter what. But I will say, knowing the history of Hockley and knowing the history throughout that game of the stuff that gets called and goes uncalled, maybe just play accordingly. But that's probably me just being a little too mean to the Bills fans. But
I'll go ahead. I'll pile on a little bit on the Bills stuff there. Man, Stephon Diggs hates their asses. Like that was
for no reason. There's no reason.
That was next level. Like, just he was locked in the whole game. He's going up and down the sideline, getting everybody else hype. Like he wanted so badly to win that game. It was just fun to watch. Like obviously he balled out. He did great, but all the effort, like consistent effort, like he wasn't gonna catch it and like cover up and go down. He was making sure he did everything possible to gain as many yards as possible on every single catch, every opportunity. He's calling, like, give me the ball more. Like, he wanted to be the reason they won this game against the Bills, and he definitely was. Like, he wanted to pile on. Another thing I want to touch on for the Patriots is, as you were saying, with, like, the Bills and the Patriots rivalry and getting, panties in a twist about it, like, yeah, as you said, this is like a fringe wildcard team that just beat you at the top of the AFC. And I looked ahead, and it's like, oh my gosh, I know you mentioned that you had a cupcake,
no, it's schedule. Bad. Like it's
crazy.
Bad. It's
like,
really bad.
Bare minimum, you're going to win 9 games, and that's of course easy wildcard. Now, the most difficult matchup you're going to have going forward is the Bills again, Ravens, and Buccaneers. And so you've got 3 like actually tough ones, and then the rest is just like these are teams that are downtrodden, and you should probably just manage to steamroll, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
Looking at
seeing
that.
so the early on in the season, I mean the Raiders are seeming to be a bad team, and we did lose to them week 1. But
Hmm.
after seeing the 42 points on the Panthers, that's when I was like, okay, we are good enough to beat the bad teams. That was my aha moment where I was like, all right,
Hmm.
we're at least middle of the pack now. To be able to beat the Bills is huge for the Patriots, obviously. And like you said, the schedule ahead is insanely easy. And I would be surprised if we weren't fighting for that wild card spot. And the Ravens game, the Ravens do not look the same this year. I'm not
Hmm.
saying we'll probably win that one, but it is another one that is winnable. Obviously, I
Yeah,
think now that we've beat the Bills, any game is winnable for the Patriots. But that's probably just me getting a little big headed
that's the hype.
after a win. That's the hype. It is. It is.
um, then we can go ahead and we'll round off with Monday Night Football. You didn't watch this one; you were busy driving. I did, and man, it's like it was like watching two of the same player because Trevor Lawrence, like as I have complained about thus far this season with Mahomes having to be the leading rusher for the Chiefs, like all pressure's on Mahomes, and I think that this is probably his best year in the past 4 years, and they're actually winning the least that they have in the
Yeah.
past 4 years because the defense is no longer like matching the rhythm. So now that Mahomes is doing great and less of the offense is really humming, but it's Mahomes as an individual getting these rushing yards, knowing when to go, having these opportunities and making his Mahomes plays, which we haven't really seen at this frequency since like Tyreek was there. Now having a less dominant defense, which lets these teams get back in the game. Trevor Lawrence, first of all, scores the winning thing after falling down on the ground,
I saw
and the
the
defense
play. Yeah.
is just the defense is, of course, you're trying to really get through that offensive line, but you really can't. And the guy's laying on the ground, tries to get up too fast, falls again. Like I was like, oh no, poor Trevor Lawrence, he's gonna lose the game in this way. And then he gets up and on his like third attempt and then runs it in. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
um, Trevor Lawrence, absolutely coming to his own under this new head coach. We thought it was going to be Doug Peterson. We were so early to this train, um, and now it's coming along. And we saw big plays come from Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter getting involved. So really, the offense was humming better than it has been in terms of like those two particular wideouts there.
Yeah.
Um, but
It turns out
really, just
they
a stunner of a game.
they didn't need an old aging Doug Peterson to revitalize the team. They needed a young offensive minded head coach to revitalize the team. Shocker.
Duval.
Shocker that the team with a great improviser at quarterback and a great like new age kind of look to the team and to the player needed a new age coach that has new age ideas that can take advantage of his skill set and not an old geezer like Doug Peterson. But yeah, we were way early to that party. We were super high on them, and this is a fixing from what I predicted a couple seasons ago when I said that the Jags would beat the Chiefs. But
Yeah, but
the other
I
thing that I
would be a
want,
miss unless I'll let you intro it if you are, and then if not, I'll
no,
mention it.
I was just gonna touch on one more thing from that Jags game. Shortly before that game, I saw a video on TikTok. It's the one I sent to you of
Okay.
like somebody was burning a dollar bill and walking around what looked like an abandoned house with like star circles everywhere,
They're
if
up
you
in the
will.
bando. Satanic
Like,
ritual at the bando, guys.
yeah,
Let's pull
it was basically a satanic ritual, and the text on the screen was just the Jaguars will win, the Jaguars will win, the Jaguars will win, the Jaguars will win, and the comments, all they were talking about is like, oh no, those are actual like sigil glyphs, like this is insane, like that's an actual ritual, and they did, so maybe there's
really
something to it,
wanted
and
the Jags to win.
there's a couple things about Etsy witches. You're not chronically online
Sure.
as much as I am, so you're just like sure,
TikTok
yeah,
witches.
yep,
I'm sure there's
TikTok
plenty
witches,
of them.
Etsy witches. But somebody hired an Etsy witch to curse their boyfriend's team because he did something to piss him off, and it was like the Ravens, and it's like,
Oh
oh
no.
my god, what's going on? And there was another one. It was I don't remember what other team it was, but it was another team that was supposed to be good and has been shitting the bed really hard this season. It's like
Houston.
somebody hired an Etsy witch to curse the Texans or something like that, and it's like, all right, maybe maybe there's something to this, but we can move on. I just wanted to bring that up because
Well,
I thought it was really
there was
funny.
the one thing I wanted. I would be amiss if I didn't mention it, and it is Devin Lloyd. I mean, you mentioned it earlier with his MVP nod you gave him, but he's why they won this game. Like Mahomes, not the best read. Devin Lloyd, right there, 99-yard pick six. That's the difference maker because you have the Chiefs offense that, off the back of Mahomes balling out like he did, had a very productive day. And the yardage differential for these teams very much shows up. However, you account for, take 99 yards away from the Chiefs, or, 75 or whatever, accounting for returns. Take 75 yards away from that and give it to the Jags, and now it's like, okay, yeah, this is a perfectly balanced matchup. This makes sense. And it was the game, it was the play that changed the game. So when you let Mahomes have all of this time in the pocket, which they did, they didn't really send a lot of blitz, but what they made the mistake of was, Mahomes, when there was that little bit of pressure and he did get that ball out a little quick, that's when Lloyd was able to capitalize on that and make that big swing. So just an insane, play for them to get back in the game, really make it stay tight. And so would be amiss if we didn't give a shout out to Devin Lloyd there for changing the game and having it lean in favor of the Jaguars.
Yeah, he's probably going to lead the league in interceptions. I don't think that's insane to think because through 5 games,
because he did it with you on 4.
Well, that, but like so far, he
Yeah.
is the player that's like actually getting interceptions consistently. And as a Patriots fan, it's tough because pre-draft in that draft class, that was the 2022 class, all the talk was like every mock draft was like Devin Lloyd to the Patriots, Devin Lloyd to the Patriots, Devin Lloyd to the Patriots. And Scouted NFL, the guy that was super high on Drake May, super high on and he's a Patriots fan. He's on Twitter, he does like scouting reports and stuff on NFL players or on college players and is high on some and low on others. And he was super high on Devin Lloyd in the pre-draft process, and he just quote tweeted his one of his tweets about Devin Lloyd today and just said Cole Strange. and I was like, yeah, we really could have had a stellar off-ball linebacker, and instead we have a backup guard who can't stay healthy. So yeah, it's just feels bad, man, for the Patriots, where we could have and should have had that on our team, and we just can't. We can't have that because Bill Belichick likes drafting players. But anyways,
The aging GM.
Speaking of Bill Belichick drafting players,
Before we get into, you can do the whole like shindig of you're about to intro it, but I did want to point out, Devin Lloyd is now like tied for ninth in the Player of the Year odds, and before he was not even like on the list. Had plus,
Yeah.
it would have been plus like 40,000.
Yeah,
Bet 100.
I would have loved to take
half
those
a
odds.
million. That would have been great odds. Now he finally made the list, and he's ninth. That's ridiculous. Just showing.
I wanted to put the money on him.
Looked it up and it was
That's
mad.
so stupid. I wanted to put that money on him last week.
Yep. And now that you can, it's like, oh yes, you can make 1/10 of the money you were going to. You'd bet that.
So dumb. Anyways. All right. 3, 2, 1. Speaking of Bill Belichick drafting players, we're gonna get into our segment video. We mentioned it was on Ramondre Stevenson, and so we're gonna intro this for all you people, beautiful people who are here for the podcast that are hearing this message right here. Just stick around for a little bit. We're gonna intro this like it's a regular video because this is our segment video that we post separately from the full podcast episodes. And we are going to kick things off in 3, 2, 1. Ramondre Stevenson has a really bad fumbling problem, but just how bad is it? I am a Patriots fan and have kind of lived with his lackluster ability to hold onto the ball for the past few years.
Yeah, you would have said ups and downs, but it really never felt like it got up. It never really felt like it got better.
Yeah. And you are a stat junkie who has gone ahead and researched some statistics about his fumbling. I have done no research on purpose because I want to go in with just how I feel about the situation and what I am remembering and interpreting from how I remember him. And I want to see if my take is justified, basically. I want to see if the stats
Mm-hmm.
back up what I think, and you have those stats to supply me with that gratification or with the lack thereof.
The humble truth.
Yeah. So I feel like it's been a good while since he's had a 2 game stretch without a fumble. And I did hear one stat on the broadcast that he has 3 fumbles this year, and I think 2 of them were in 1 game. So correct me if I'm wrong there.
Um, yeah, no, two in one game and then one this
Okay.
past one.
So then
So
he did
the
have a
first
2
two
game
weeks,
stretch. Yeah.
yeah, first 2 weeks of this season, he did not fumble the ball.
Okay. So that kind of ruins my like big like wow, it's been a while since he's gone 2 weeks without fumbling. But do you know the stretch before that he went without fumbling?
So the longest stretch, and this is from the 2024 season, the longest stretch he went with fumbling was 4 games. Then he went with a nice solid 5 game streak of no fumbles, and then it was every other game he would fumble going on for the rest of the season. He ended last season with 7 total. So he, you know, that initial stretch just really set him high on that fumble mark, but then he got it together and then he went back to it every other game, had one of those Ramondre moments. So
Yeah.
that was the stretch before last. And 2024 I feel like is the one season that is really hammered home how big the fumbling issue was.
Yeah. And the reason I ask that before I kind of get into the rest of my position on it is because that was the big like question I had was how often does he really fumble? We can get into the specifics of the situation and other running backs that have been in similar spots and what their outcomes have been, but it's really just remarkable that he's had this fumbling issue for over a year through a regime change, through a running back drafted at 38 overall, and he's still starting. Like that is mind-bogglingly stupid to me that he is still retaining this starting role. And I get it. He's an okay, like he's a solid running back, but he's not like Jonathan Taylor and he's not
Mm-hmm.
Bijan Robinson. He's not this like top tier running back, not Saquon. And he has the fumbling issue. So if you're like a, you know, upper middle of the pack running back, we'll call it upper middle class, you're an upper middle class running
Mm-hmm.
back and you can't hold on to the ball. Why are we not at least seeing what the young 38th overall pick, early second round pick has in the tank? And it's not like it's a issue of like, oh well, we just the depth just isn't there. Like they also had Antonio Gibson over Travion Henderson. And so I guess
Mm-hmm.
the issues I take with it are that Travion Henderson is not getting the touches he deserves. And it's that they're trying to run a 3 running back committee. Antonio Gibson out for the year now, so it'll go back down to 2. But I just don't see them moving away from Ramondre Stevenson when he has single-handedly, it should be 2 hands on the ball, so that's notable, single-handedly lost us the game sometimes. It's outrageous.
Yeah,
There should be
for
no
sure.
there should be no future in which he is getting a majority of the carries, but it is the future we live in that he will be getting a majority of the carries moving forward.
I did want to. I'm typing it right now because I had this thought and I never wanted. I couldn't find a source for it, but I was really interested on most fumbles by a running back within the 5 because it feels like he's probably leading in that. Of course, no particular stat tracker I could find me that information, but man, like it feels like those are the moments when he fumbles. It's not that he fumbled. Like sometimes he may fumble early in the drive and you give up a lot of field position, but it feels like a majority of the time it's he fumbles in the big moment. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is 3rd and 1. Just pick up 1 yard and we get a new set of downs. Or this is 1st and goal from the 1 and you're going to fumble right now because you just can't hold on to the ball through all of this contact. And, he's definitely more so defined as being this power running back, but I feel like power running backs shouldn't be able to fumble the ball constantly. You should be
Yeah.
able to maintain power through contact, not maintain power and cough up the ball every time you get hit hard. Now, in terms of the stats I went ahead and accumulated, because I started through, I was like, okay, let's see where he is, just like active players, what's the leaderboard at. So since 2018, he is 7th in terms of fumbles. Now since 2019, he's 5th. And then we get to 2020 where he's 2nd in fumbles. Now I do want to remind you, he was drafted in 2021.
Damn.
These are all years
Okay.
I just listed that he had no snaps for. So that's for 2018, he is 7th. That means players with 3 more seasons under their belt than him, and he's 7th. Then 5th, then 2nd in 2020. Now, Austin Eckler is number 1 since 2020. Since 2021, when Ramondre is actually able to start accumulating these stats in the league, he is tied number 1 with Austin Eckler. So, for me to have to go back to get him outside of the top 5 in fumbles, I have to go back 3 years before he was drafted. That's a rough look. Now, I went ahead and I was like, okay, so Austin Eckler, let's go ahead, let's compare him with Austin Eckler. Because Austin Eckler, I mean, he produced a lot for a little good bit there. And so in 2020, which was Austin Eckler's, highest fumble year, he actually produced over 20 scrimmage touchdowns. And if I want to look at Eckler in what I call the problem period, their problem prime, they're coughing up the ball more than they have in the rest of their career. Well, since 2020, I would say Eckler's been in his problem prime, and he had 948 touches. Off of that, he had 48 touchdowns and 17 fumbles. Now, you compare that to Ramondre's, since that same period of time, career stats, he has 911 touches, so, he's right there in touches overall. He has 25 touchdowns to 17 fumbles, of course, tied with Austin Eckler, most fumbles since 2021. So, Eckler at least had that upside where, okay, we'll keep putting the ball in this guy's hands because he keeps yielding these touchdowns for us. I mean, he had 2 years with insane scrimmage touchdowns, and so you're going to kind of feed him the ball in those situations. And now, granted, this is for Eckler. He's had a 9-year career. He's played for 2 teams. And I would definitely say that this problem period for him was the reason he's no longer a Charger. He stopped producing the touchdowns at the clip that he had, and he kept producing those fumbles. And so he left. He wasn't a Charger. He didn't get a contract extension.
Right. And my interpretation with the Eckler thing too is a little different because he's not a power back. He was a huge receiving back, and I think it's a lot easier to fumble on receptions when you're catching the ball, shifting it, getting it into the carrying position than it is to fumble on a running play, which is all Ramondre does, is fumbles on the running plays in the backfield. Like this is not it's same numbers, different situation. And like you said, with Eckler scoring all those touchdowns, it's justified. I wouldn't even say justified, but he deserved to continue getting those touches.
Yeah.
Giving him those touches was justified because the upside was there. With Ramondre, like I was talking about, he's a middle-class running back. The upside is just not there. Upper middle class. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. But regardless of the pedantic classifications of the class of the running back, the upside is not there. It just isn't. So there's no reason for us to be giving him these touches. And I guess the big thing that we as fans don't typically take into account when it comes to running back play is pass pro. But TreVeyon Henderson was single-handedly talked up as the best pass pro running back in the entire class and in recent memory. Like, this guy is a guy who made his college career off of pass pro and being a good running back. Pass pro first, good running back second. So there should be, like I said before, there should be no circumstance where Ramondre Stevenson remains in the starting lineup going forward. It was inexcusable to give him the start after his 2 fumble game this season. It was inexcusable to keep him in the rotation, but they did it, and he fumbled again. It is further inexcusable. It would be coaching malpractice to keep him in the starting lineup moving forward.
Now, I did want to bring up some other, names here because after I saw that, I was like, okay, let me find a broader spectrum. Currently, I looked at current players since 2021. I was like, let me go a little back. So I was like, okay, when was the last? When would I mark like death of running back era? And I was like, let me start like a modern NFL running back era. I chose 2010. I feel like 2015 would have been a good mark there as well, but I went 2010 just to find who led the league in a season for fumbles as a running back since 2010. And there's Ramondre with 7 in one season, and there's 3 names above him with all who had 8. Now, one of which is Peyton Hillis, and I went ahead and looked at his career. Now, he had a 7-year long career. He played for 4 different teams in
He had a
those 7
1 year
years.
long career and then stuck around.
Exactly. So, but the thing is with him was like he had 830 touches. So he hung around. He notably wasn't a starter. Like the complaint is coming from for why Ramondre keeps getting this. He's getting these touches as a starter. Ramondre is, and again, he has 25 touchdowns to these 17 fumbles. These 17 fumbles throughout his career. Well, Peyton Hillis had 26 touchdowns to 15 fumbles. So, that's more touchdowns and that's less fumbles. So this guy who hung around
Correct.
wasn't starting, played for 4 different teams, is still being revered and named starter by the same franchise year after year after year. So then I'm like, okay, well, what's this other name on here? What is the absolute like? Okay, he's at least better than this guy, right? Well, that's Jalen Richard, who had 7 touchdowns to 14 fumbles.
Damn.
And that's through 6 years. And he played for only one team through those 6 years. And I was like, okay, so that's where Ramondre is going to be going. Like, Ramondre is going to be getting that one team career out of the league after that. And we're just going to start seeing these fumbles pile up. And that's the mark. He has to have double the fumbles as touchdowns before the Patriots decide to do anything about it. Now, all that said, like, even going back to the Peyton Hillis comp, like, with the worst years of Peyton Hillis, you can scratch off 6 touchdowns because he had 1 year where he had 6 touchdowns, no fumbles. So that's a 20 to 15 rate for him for his worst stretch of years when you get rid of his one good year. Now, getting rid of one good year for Mondre, it's hard to find what you consider the good year because, yeah, he had a year with 4 touchdowns
issue.
and a fumble. And it's because he didn't play all of the games that year. You let him play all of the games, he's healthy, he's going to rack up more. So, like, in terms of games played, like, these guys are not rivaling him in terms of the games with the starts. They may be getting the touches, but, I mean, Hillis got the touches with a lot more years. So, all that to say, I went ahead and I found a list of running backs that are like, okay, equally bad, equally fumble prone, and they didn't get the starting opportunity that Ramondre's gotten. They didn't get this, like, force fed to him. He's not like, it's almost like Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott had a whole period of time where he was one of the best running backs in the league. Ramondre never had that period of time. So then when Ezekiel Elliott then led into his fall off where he was more fumble prone and really wasn't producing as much, like I mentioned with Eckler. I mean, that's more comparable than Eckler because Eckler was the receiving running back and Ezekiel Elliott wasn't. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, of course, doesn't even really touch the fumbles that Ramondre has, and yet it still was enough to be like, yeah, I think we're going to move on from you. I think we're going to let you go. And guess where Ezekiel Elliott went? It's
New fucking England.
Yeah, it's a prototype y'all love.
Yeah,
truly.
the fumbling running backs.
Because even Antonio Gibson had a little bad period of time with fumbling, and
that's why he was released and ended up with the Patriots. The biggest issue I take with this is just that you spent a super high draft pick on a running back as far as running back picks go. Mm-hmm. You spent a relatively high pick on a running back. He's been 3rd on your depth chart, and you've been given every reason to make him 1st on your depth chart. and it just hasn't happened. And the Ramondre was a last regime pick. He was picked by the Belichick regime. He was extended by the Belichick regime, or by the Mayo regime, I guess. But same difference.
Basically an extension of it, yeah.
Now we're in the Vrabel era. We are in a new coaching, new mentality. This is new. Move off of him. It is so easy to do. You are given the opportunity on a silver fucking platter, and you're not taking it. So going forward, if he does remain the starter, which I'm hopeful that he won't. I'm hopeful that this was a last straw. But, I thought the 2 fumble game 2 weeks ago was a last straw, and I'm tweaking again because I'm remembering that he's still starting after a 2 fumble game, after a fumble-ridden career. So if he is still starting, I will call it out every week as coaching malpractice by the Patriots, and every single time that he fumbles to lose a game, I'll come up with something to do to make it known.
Yeah. And to end off this video, I want to throw just a couple more horrific Ramondre Stevenson stats at you just for this season. Out of 69 nice eligible running backs, he is 60th in terms of success percentage. Success percentage is a stat that basically means, are you gaining enough yards on first and second down to get a first down? He is 60th out of 69. Now, you go ahead, you change some of these, requirements to meet this list, and you focus on just rushing, and you look at expected points added, kind of a similar stat to success percentage, but it kind of factors in how many touchdowns you have as well. Oh, he's got 2 rushing touchdowns, so that should help it. No, he is 45th out of 45 running backs in terms of EPA, or expected points added, per rush attempt. So you could say, hey, it's likely going to be that it's just the Patriots issue. It's just the offensive line. It's this, it's that. It's the run scheme.
It's a Ramondre issue. It's nothing.
But Travion Henderson, running behind the same line, the same scheme, is 22nd on the list of 45.
Christ.
So I feel like that nips that in the bud.
Yeah.
With that, this has been the Ramondre Stevenson rant video for all of you watching. If you aren't subscribed yet, go ahead, hit subscribe if you made it this far. Hopefully you won't have many more reasons to watch Gabe to get this mad throughout the year. But if you do, it's a nice little bonus. Now hit the bell if you want to be notified tomorrow when our podcast drops. This is just a little segment of our podcast. We go over more stuff in our bigger podcast, of course, than our short little formed videos that we do as part of our podcast every week. So if you want to go ahead and watch those, go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when those podcasts drop, and we look forward to seeing you around.
And now it's back to the show. We
Back
can move
to the
on
show.
into some week 6 games highlighted for us. Top one is the 49ers at the Bucks. This is Purdy back, do you know, for this one?
It's
Doesn't
going to be
matter.
day to day. It's going to be up in the air. I think it doesn't really matter with what we're going to see from the 49ers offense truly going forward. But, it's going to be questionable for Purdy with his injury.
I see this as an exclamation point game for the Bucks. If they can win this one, it can serve as a big putting the league on notice, kind of like the Patriots in primetime, putting the league on notice, saying Drake May is him. It was all speculation until he was on primetime. Now the league knows, and I think that same thing can be said for on a much larger scale and a higher tier for Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. If they can win this one against a team like the 49ers, not the same team from a couple of years ago, not quite the top of the league, but if they can win this one, it really will look good for the playoff hopes for the Bucks as far as getting one of the top seeds goes. And I think winning against a team like the 49ers will just put Baker Mayfield that much higher up on the MVP bracket, on the MVP leaderboard. And I think that would be perfect for them.
Yeah, really, really driving forward the agenda, putting everyone on notice, making everybody aware. Now, on the 49ers flip side of things, it's like, do we keep seeing the production in terms of the win column, despite feeling like it's a lack of production as a team? Like, of course, they've got their injuries. They're playing down a lot of people, but they keep winning these games despite, Christian McCaffrey having a horrible, clip of yards per touch, but he's also getting an insane amount of touches and they keep gaining first downs. So you can't really knock it. It's just going to be a game of do we see them produce above expected, or do we see them continue to produce as expected and the Buccaneers really soar past that? Now, looking forward to some other games here. I see the Bears and Commanders. It's just kind of fun, you got their two young quarterbacks facing off again, and this one's going to be a Monday Night Football primetime, and it's coming off of the bye week for the Bears. The Bears sitting at 2-2. It certainly feels like the Bears need to be better. Feels like Ben Johnson is very unhappy with where the Bears are currently at. So they've got that. And then you've got the Commanders really hoping to keep going, keep improving, because they've been having a so-so start to the year, especially with the injury to Jaden Daniels that kind of set them back for a couple of weeks there. But I look forward to seeing that one. Just, the excitement of the two young players facing off. It's always going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and that's the 2024 draft class, top 2 picks. So that's always cool when they face off. The last time they faced off was the Hail Mary. So
yeah,
that was a great one. And then Lions at Chiefs Sunday Night Football. This is a game that we predicted correctly. It was 2 seasons ago in season. Was it season 1 or was it season 2? I think it was season 1. It was
season
of the podcast.
1. It was
first week.
Brian Branch with that pick 6 on Mahomes in his debut game. It was a great game.
Yeah.
And this is one that of course is leaning in terms of betting and people picking the teams to win. It's leaning with the Chiefs winning because it's at home.
Really?
But
after a loss to the Jags?
After a loss to the Jags, I feel like it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. I feel like that's always going to ring true as long as Mahomes is doing what he does. Now, that's of course not where I'm leaning with it.
I will say,
I'm leaning hard on the Lions because despite the defensive issues with the Lions, and I do think that the Chiefs are going to light it up against the lack of a starting quality DB from the Lions. I feel like the Chiefs are in that point where they have a good defense and they might have a good game or two where they're locking down a number 1 because they have Trent McDuffie. But I don't think they have an overall defense that can stop the caliber of offense the Lions have. Whereas I feel like the Lions defense is really going to elevate what the Chiefs offense can do. It'll be tighter than I think you would expect just looking at how the Lions have played throughout the season. But I don't think it's going to be explicitly super tight, and I think it will be a Lions win, 10 points.
Yeah, I've got the Lions in that one too. On ESPN, shout out, go check the links in the description and join us for pick'ems over on ESPN and compete against us throughout the season. It does have the Lions as a 74% to 26% favorite in terms of picks so far. So as far as who people are actually picking, it's looking like a lot more people are favoring the Lions, at least over on ESPN. But as far as the betting odds, I think Chiefs are still the favorites there technically. So that'd be,
Chiefs are the favorites there. According to ESPN analytics, Chiefs have a 55% chance of winning before the ball's even kicked off. We'll see how that fares. But
disagree.
With the Lions,
disagree.
74% of people are picking it, and I will jump on that bandwagon there.
Yeah. But with all of that said, I think that just about wraps up our episode 5 of our podcast of season 3. Early in the morning here. Yeah, still waking up. But thank you all very much for watching. Do you have any words of wisdom or wisdom for these people to lead or live their lives by?
6'9"? Nope. 6'7"? I don't know. I don't know how it goes. Live your lives by that. Deuces.